A pleasant morning, everyone. We're so glad you're here. This is Krista Calachonco from the Capacity Development Division, and I will be your facilitator for this entire virtual learning session. We're really thankful that you took the time off your busy schedules just to join us during this week-long training activity. Before we start, may I ask our Zoom participants to please give us a quick thumbs up just to be certain that you can hear us crystal clear. Good morning po, everyone. May I see those thumbs up po? Okay, thank you very much. To start, let us begin with an opening prayer. Let us put ourselves in the presence of God. Loving Heavenly Father, we come to you at this hour, asking for your blessing and help as we are gathered together. We pray for guidance in the matters at hand and ask that you would clearly show us how to conduct our work with a spirit of joy and enthusiasm. Give us the desire to find ways to excel in our work. Help us to work together and encourage each other to excellence. We ask that we would challenge each other to reach higher and farther to the best that we can be. We ask this in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Once again, this is your facilitator, Krista Kyla Chongo, and welcome to the last day of the online training for the Municipal Local Government Units on Government Procurement Reform Act, or the Republic Act number 9184 and its 2016 revised implementing rules and regulations, brought to you by none other than the Government Procurement Policy Board Technical Support Office. Just a quick recap of the day of yesterday's learning activity. We had a very productive learning session on alternative methods of procurement, where we discussed the different alternative methods as applicable to the municipalities and what is required for the specific modes of procurement. This is led, of course, by a resource speaker, Director Renato M. De Vera. At this juncture, we are now at the last day of our learning session. Thank God it's Friday ka nga, di ba? We would like to extend our gratitude to all our participants by staying with us until this point. Before we dive into the actual lecture proper, please allow me to announce the early bird awardees for today. Congratulations to our early bird winners from LGU Luba, Miss Leslie Cruz, and from LGU Pandi, Miss Gretchen Gregorio. We commend our early bird participants kasi they really took the effort to join our training kahit masarap matulog kasi nga, di ba, bare months na. Ayan. Congratulations again, Ma'am and Sir. Our event secretariat will coordinate with you on how you may claim your special token within the course of our program. Okay, for our fifth and final day, I would like to again remind all our participants, if you haven't done yet, please register through the GPPB TSO online training management system using the control number provided by our event secretariat. Also, for today's session, don't forget to register your attendance through the Google Form link provided by our event secretariat through the Zoom chat box. I cannot stress these enough. Double check your entries as the completion of these requirements will be crucial for your event certificates. For today's session, we will be having two full sessions on protest mechanism and remedies, and on blacklisting guidelines respectively. I hope you're all excited to learn from our distinguished resource speaker. At this point, I think we're all ready to go straight ahead with the meat of this virtual event, and that is our lecture proper. So with that, it is with joy to introduce to you this session's resource speaker. Our resource speaker graduated with a Bachelor of Science major in Economics degree from the University of Santo Tomas, Manila, and he also has a Bachelor's of Law degree from the San Sebastian College, Recoletos, Manila. Joining us today, the Attorney 6 of the Department of Justice and a GPPB recognized trainer. Please welcome Attorney Jainito Roy C. Atis. Sir?
Thank you, Kyla. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for that introduction. So, pansin ko parang our participants are from all over the Philippines. Wow. Ay, wala. May parang iba malayo, isa Pandi, merong Isabela. Yan, may nakita ko kanina, Isabela. So, today, I'll be discussing yung two topics, protest mechanisms and blacklisting guidelines. So, wait lang po, i-share ko lang aking screen. Okay, so I'll be discussing two topics, as I've said earlier, protest mechanism and remedies. Tapos later would be the blacklisting guidelines found under the IRR of the 2016 implementing rules and regulations of RA 9184. So ito na pala yung last day nyo, no, for your training. So, usually, parang yung oras natin hanggang 12 lang, no? Pero usually, pag nila-lecture ko ito, maabot tayo ng 3 p.m. Wala pa yung mga questions. So, simulan na natin. Alfred, so, okay. So, objectives natin dito. So, kailangan by the end of this module, this training, malalaman din natin kung ano yung mga grounds and remedies of offenses committed in relation to the conduct and or participation to procurement activities. Dito, this will serve as our guide to sa mga procurement officers natin, sa mga participants natin, kung ang ating gagawin ay within the bounds of the law, hindi makakonsider na illegal. So, dito malalaman natin yung mga criminal offenses and their corresponding penalties. Also, another objective of this module would be to understand the procedures and considerations of how to resolve a request for reconsideration and or protest. So, itong second part would be the remedy for the bidders or participating bidders. Ito yung mga magiging remedies natin. So, pag halimbawa nag-avail sila ng remedy, we will know what we are going to do. What are the procedures to be followed for their request for reconsideration? Ito yung outline natin for this whole session. So we'll discuss the penal, civil, and administrative provisions, the liabilities under RA 3019. So these are the accountability provisions. Ayan yung mga criminal acts. Yan. So next we have the protest mechanism. So we will learn the requisites for filing a request or motion for reconsideration and the valid protest. So we'll learn the procedures. So yung mga siguro yung mga participants natin, mga back members, so yung mga back members will learn how to resolve a protest. And finally, we have the blacklisting guidelines, which we will discuss later. So, We go to the penal, civil, and administrative provisions under RA 984. So, syempre, the law provides for the highest standard of ethics, not only for the bidders, not only from the procurement practitioners, from the back members, from public officers, but also these are required to all persons involved in the bidding. So this also involves the bidders, the manufacturers, suppliers, distributors during the procurement and execution of the contract. So all throughout the process, kailangan highest standard of ethics ang ating fina-follow. So as we go along the discussion, we will also learn that the bidders determined to have committed corrupt, fraudulent, collusive, or coercive practices by the government will not be eligible to bid in its projects. Yeah. So, ang mga prohibited practice natin revolves mainly on the following four practices. First would be collusive practices, corrupt practices, coercive practices, and fraudulent practices. So, collusive practices, this is a practice which is contrary to the purpose of RA 984, which is the promotion of competition. Kasi kung walang competition, we will not get the best quality for the best price. So, of yung what we are going to procure. Kasi this collusive practice, this is a scheme where two or more bidders agree to establish prices at artificial level. So, wala nang nangyayaring competition. Kumbaga, nag-agree na lang sila, sige, para ma-force silang makuha tayo, ito na lang ang price natin. So, hindi na sila nag-compete. So, they're not giving their best foot forward. So, in government procurement. So, this is one of the practices prohibited. Next, we have the corrupt practices. So, usually, this pertains to the improper and unlawful enrichment of oneself or others. So, alam naman natin yung mga corrupt practices. This is really considered illegal and criminal. Next would be coercive practices, which involves the harming or threatening to harm directly or indirectly persons or their property to influence their participation in the procurement process or to affect the execution of a contract. So, dito, you influence, you coerce a person. Halimbawa, merong mga back members are coerced. Parang ini-influensyahan sila to make a decision. Kaya dapat, di ba, ang mga back members natin should be independent thinkers, should be of high integrity. So, pag nako-coerce sila, minsan naka-cloud ang decision nila. So, kung sino man yung na-cloud, kung merong mga persons rin that cloud their decision by harming or threatening to do harm to the procurement practitioners. Next would be fraudulent practices. This is misrepresentation of facts in order to influence a procurement process. Sample ito would be revolve around mga falsification of documents, presentation of fake documents before the back. So, minsan, ipe-present na natin. That is why, under the law, we have procedures wherein we verify the documents submitted by the bidders.
Ayan, for our first knowledge check, we will be flashing the question through the Zoom polling feature, and all we have to do is choose the appropriate answers in the pop-up poll that is flashed in our screens. For poll question number 1, the question is, all are covered by penal provisions are under RA 9184 except 1. A. Misrepresentation, B. Collusion, C. Connivance, and D. Malicious mischief.
Hirap ng tanong, grabe.
I think naman, sir, nakinig po ang ating mga participants. So, madali na lang sa kanilang masagutan po yung ating question, no?
Opo.
Sana po maraming makatamang sagot.
Pwede ako sumagot?
Yes, sir. Pwede po after po this. Pati po yung mga ating viewers from Facebook Live, i-key in lang po natin yung ating mga sagot sa comment section.
Wow, naka-Facebook Live pala tayo.
Yes, sir.
Hindi ako prepared.
I think we have reached our majority.
Yeah, sorry.
Majority of our participants, sir, from the Zoom platform answered letter D, malicious mischief. Let us see if that is indeed the correct answer. Tama po ba ang sagot nila?
Tama.
Tama.
Tama. Galing naman. Malicious mischief. Siguro wala naman sa din-discuss ko kanina yung malicious mischief. Malicious mischief is an act committed by a person destroying, wherein a person destroys another person's property. So, hindi naman siya covered under RA 9184. So, galing, 72% of
Yes,
you
sir.
answered malicious mischief. Very good.
Okay, sir, let us now proceed to our discussion. Thank you
Sige
po.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Next, we now go to the specific penal provisions under under the IRR of RA 9184. So, sino yung covered? So, this covers public officers and private individuals. So, whether public or private individual ka, you can be held liable under this provision, under the criminal provisions of RA 9184. So, yung coverage ng ating penal clause, so not only covers both manual or electronic submission of bids. So, parang ng karma, di ba? Digital na siya ngayon. So whether electronic or manual procurement, di ba? Di ba? Under dahil ngayon we are under the digital age. We are now in the digital age. Kinabahan ako nung narinig ko na naka-FB live pala. So, pasensya na. So, what are the applicable penalties? So, applicable penalty, the principal penalty would be 6 years and 1 day but not more than 15 years. Yung laging tinatanong sa akin na 6115. Yan, laging tatandaan. 6115. Before we even think about doing the criminal act, di ba? Isipin mo, makukulong ako. Hindi ako pwede makulong ng 6115. Pero dapat, hindi natin gagawin yung mga criminal acts na i-mention ko later. Also, merong not only, siyempre pag may principal penalty tayo, meron din tayong accessory penalties. This is temporary or perpetual disqualification from public office, whether elective or appointive yan for public official. So for private individual naman, permanent disqualification from transacting business with the government. So there. Jurisdiction would be the courts, appropriate courts according to the laws existing at the time of the. So we now go to what are the offenses committed by your public officers. So first, we have opening of any sealed bid, including but not limited to bids that may have been submitted through the electronic system. So, actually, etong unang provision na to, kulang pa siya. So, merong mere opening of any sealed bid. Under the 65.1E, meron din tayong or divulging their contents. So, sa unang provision pa lang ng ng penal clause, meron na tayong dalawang violations. The mere opening of any sealed bid. So, which, bawa, di ba, for public bidding, we have the appointed time. We have a specific time kung kailan natin bubuksan yung bid. Yung bid submission, di ba? Naka-envelope yan. So, the mere opening, pag in-open nyo yan, prior to the appointed time, that is already considered a criminal act. Yan. So, isipin mo, hindi mo pwedeng gawin yan. So, also, parang this also covers yung divulging their content. So, separate pa. So, pag in-open mo, tas dinivulge mo, that is also already considered true violations of the criminal provisions under RA 984. Next would be delaying without justifiable cause the screening for procurement process. So, ang laging yung tatandaan dito, without justifiable cause. So, we are allowed to delay is allowed. Delay as a general rule is not considered a criminal act under this law. However, kung yung delay mo is without justifiable cause, kung yung delay nyo lang that is dahil yung halimbawa may back meeting kayo nung kasagsagan ng bagyo, you can tapos na-move nyo. Hindi kayo nakapag-perform, hindi kayo nakapag-conduct ng bidding activities during bagyo. Kasi nga may bagyo. That is considered a delay without justifiable cause. With justifiable cause. Delaying without justifiable cause, yung ayaw nyo pirmahan, yung mga papreso, kasi wala lang. So, hindi nade-delay yung procurement process ng walang justifiable cause. So, there. Next would be unduly influencing or exerting undue pressure on any back member or any officer of the procuring entity. So, halimbawa si back member, meron silang kailangan desisyonan kung disqualified ba ang isang bidder sa procurement process. So, i-deliberate nila sa next meeting. So, nalaman ngayon ng boss ni back member. So, yung boss ni back member, kaibigan niya yung general manager nung nagbibid sa office. Kinausap niya ngayon si back member. So, pag hindi mo in-approve yan, sinabi hindi mo in-approve yan, hindi ka mako-consider sa promotion. That is considered influencing or exerting undue pressure on any member of the back or any officer of the procuring entity. Yeah. Next would be splitting of contracts. So, what is splitting of contracts? This is division of the procurement into artificial phases. So, in order to circumvent or in order to parang hindi tayo mag-comply sa provisions ng RA 984. So under we have to take note na nag-issue si GPPB ng non-policy matter 20-2019. So the mere act of dividing a contract into smaller quantities or phases does not necessarily automatically constitute splitting of contracts. So kasi one example would be yung procurement nyo, di ba? Di ba small value, ang small value procurement, if you remember your lecture yesterday, yung alternative modes, yung small value procurement, ang threshold niya is up to 1 million. Tapos may procure kayo 1.5 million worth of supplies, office supplies. So dahil gusto nyo na small value lang siya or parang i-split nyo yung para hindi siya umabot ng 1.5. Dahil ayaw nyo mag-public bidding kasi yung presyo matagal. Sasabihin, matagal kasi public bidding kaya split na natin yan. So, yan, that is considered splitting of contracts na criminal provision. That's considered criminal under this law. So, that is a violation. Paano magiging hindi violation ng splitting of contracts? Under the non-policy matter. So, halimbawa, yun nga, you have to procure, yung example po, office supplies worth 1.5 million. So, supposed to be, public bidding na siya. However, merong certain factors na kailangan nyo into consideration na such as yung current supply nyo, yung storage nyo. Halimbawa, wala naman kayong storage na paglalagay ng 1.5 million worth of office supplies. Wala kayong storage na paglalagyan. You can divide, that is when you can divide yung procurement nyo into artificial phases. Diba? So, yung imbes na isang bagsakang 1.5, you can procure at least kung anong magkakasya sa storage nyo na office supplies, 500,000 na small value procurement. Pwede yun. So, parang the law contemplates that there should be intent to circumvent the provisions of the law. Yeah. Next, we have when the head of agency abuses the exercise of his power to reject any and all bids. This is to favor a particular bidder. So, ano ba tong power ni Hope to reject any and all bids? This is found under Section 41 of the IRR, which provides that the Hope reserves the right to reject any and all bids and declare a failure of bidding or not award the contract in the following situations. So, meron siyang there's prima facie or evidence upon itself of collusion between the BAC and the others and the bidders, collusion between the bidders themselves, between the bidder and third party, including any act which restricts or suppresses or nullifies or tends to restrict competition. So, next, if the BAC is found to have failed in following the bidding procedures, and for any justifiable reason or ground, the award contract will not redound to the benefit of the procuring entity. So, pag in-abuse ni Hope ang power na yan, laging, kung okay naman, halimbawa, sa BAC, nagre-recommend sila kay Hope for procurement. Yung, halimbawa, nag-public bidding kayo ng vehicles. Yan. Tapos, nag-squad, nag-recommend na si BAC, nagawa na si BAC ng resolution, and still, na lahat ng process nagawa, lahat ng ang gusto pala ni Hope ang manalo yung natalong bidder, yung second lowest bidder, diba? Ni-reject niya yung recommendation ng BAC for him to award his favored bidder. that is considered a criminal act under this law. Itong mga to, these are considered corrupt practices. Yeah. Corrupt practices na nagbabawal under this. Next, we have offenses committed by private individuals. So you have to take note, yung public officers conspiring with the private individuals are also liable under this provision. So, yeah. So, ito yung kanilang, is the more detailed description of those violations. So, more or less, ito naman yung mga usual na violations by private individuals involves collusive practices. Yeah. First, when two or more bidders agree and submit different bids as if they were bona fide bidders, when they know that one or more of them was so much higher than the other. So eto, naglalaro na lang sila, pinaglalaro na lang nila yung procuring entity. So sasabihin ng halimbawa si bidder A and B, parang nag-usap na lang sila, sige, bahala na, sige, taas mo yung sa'yo, para ako naman. Diba? Itaas mo sa'yo, para ako naman. So, nag-agree na sila. Parang these are acts which tend to really defeat competition. Wala nang competition na nagaganap. Next, when two or more bidders enter into an agreement which call upon one to refrain from bidding for procurement contracts or which call for the withdrawal of bids already submitted. So ito yung two, halimbawa, si A and B. Nag-agree sila na awayin si C. Sabihin sila si, oh, huwag ka na lumaban, kami naman. Diba? So, these are collusive practices. Yung acts which tend to defeat competition. Wala nang competition sa dito na wala nang nakukuhang magandang offer si government. Dahil nga, kinokontrol na nila kung sino yung mananalo. So, dapat bidders should be independent from each other. Bidders should submit offers independent of each other. Next, when a bidder maliciously submit different bids through two or more persons, corporations, partnerships, or any other business entity, which he has interest to create the appearance of competition that does not in fact exist so as to be adjudged as the winning bidder. Dito, parang this is the creation. Ito naman, nagke-create ka ng artificial competition. Kasi no matter kung sino manalo doon sa companies na nag-bid, ikaw pa rin, merong isang person na magbe-benefit doon sa procurement na yun. Diba? Kasi artificial na yung competition. Bidder A, B, and C, meron siyang controlling interest. Meron siyang say. Regardless of kung kanino mapunta ang kontrata sa gobyerno. Next, when a bidder by himself or in connivance with others employs schemes which tend to restrain the natural rivalry of the parties. So, dito naman, basta yung in general, this is an act which tend to defeat competition. Wala nang competition. Ayaw niya mag-competition. Next, we have the other offenses committed by the private individuals. These are now considered fraudulent practices. These are fraudulent practices. So we have to take note, as the same as earlier, public officers conspiring with private individuals are also liable under this provision. So, first, we have submission of eligibility requirements containing false information or falsified documents or concealment of such information. So, diba? Sa public bidding, we require yung platinum membership, PhilJEP's registration, platinum membership. So, nag-submit siya nun. So, however, upon verification, saan nyo ba pwedeng i-verify yan? Isang tip, meron website ang PhilJEPs, wherein we can verify yung mga PhilJEPs registration nila. So bawa, isang bidder, nag-submit siya ng platinum membership, PhilJEPs platinum membership. On paper, it appears kung valid siya. However, upon checking yung sa website, there's really a website wherein you can check kung meron nga talaga silang PhilJEPs registration. Wala siyang lumalabas naman. That is considered a criminal offense. Kung walang lumabas, lagot, pwede siyang makasuhan criminally. Next, we have submission of the parang pareho lang. So, actually, this, itong pangalawa, submitting bidding documents of whatever kind in nature containing false information or falsified documents or conceal such information in the bidding documents in order to influence the outcome of the competitive bidding. So, dito naman, halimbawa, magko-conceal siya ng information. How do you conceal information? Halimbawa, in your omnibus sworn statement, meron dong parang declaration na you are not blacklisted. Diba? Kinonceal mo yung information na hindi ka blacklisted. Halimbawa, blacklisted yung bidder. Kinonceal niya yung information na yun. That is considered a criminal act. Or halimbawa, diba, sa public bidding or ang SLCC natin should be at least 50% of the ABC. Diba, 1 million yung ABC ng project, yung SLCC na submit nila, parang ni-represent nila, parang sinabit nila na 600,000 pesos. When in truth and in fact, it's only 300,000 pesos. So dapat, they should have been disqualified, diba? For submitting an SLCC below 50% of the ABC. Paano nyo malalaman yan? Di ba meron tayong post-qual for public bidding, post-qualification of the lowest calculated bidder. So, titingnan nyo lahat ng documents na sinabit niya, including yung mga statement of single largest completed contract. So, dapat titingnan nyo yung nakaseparate naman yung single largest completed contract, pwede nyo i-verify yun with parting wherein they declared yung single largest completed contract. Halimbawa, na-verify nyo na 600,000 ang nilagay nila, tapos pag-verify nyo doon sa kakontrata nila doon sa SLCC, 300,000 lang pala. That is considered criminal act under this provision. It's a fraudulent practice. Next, we'll be using the name of another or allowing another to use one's name. So dito, pwedeng kasuhan criminally ang gumamit at ang nagpagamit. Yan. Ng pangalan. So, example of this would be merong certain bidders na meron certain companies na kulang pa. Kumbaga, hilaw pa sila sa experience sa public bidding. Kung halimbawa, alam niya na yung SLCC niya would be insufficient dun sa project. Kung halimbawa, sa 1 million project, 500,000, di ba? At least 50% of the project, 500,000 ang SLCC dapat. So So si Company A, dahil small company pa lang siya, ang SLCC pa lang niya is 300,000. So, pero gusto niya talaga mag-participate sa bidding dito sa government entity na to, sa procurement entity na to. So, ginawa niya, kinausap niya si Company B, na medyo malaki na siya. Established na siya, experienced na siya sa government procurement. Company A, Company B, pwede pang mahiram ang pangalan mo para na makaparticipate. Yan. So, both Company A and Company B will be held liable under this provision. Next would be withdrawal of a bid. So, after having qualified the lowest calculated bid or the highest rated bid, or refusing to accept an award without justifiable cause, or with purpose of forcing the procuring entity to award the contract to another bidder. So, diba, si bidder A, parang i-award na sa kanya. Notice of award. Nasa notice of award na. Post-qual, backreso na, sinay na ni Hope, i-award na sa kanya. Pero still, ayaw niyang tanggapin. Bakit niya ayaw niyang tanggapin? Without justifiable cause. Ito, dito rin tatandaan nyo, dapat ang pagtanggap niya is without justifiable cause. Or dahil gusto lang niya ma-award dun sa susunod, second lowest calculated bid. Dahil meron na silang agreement, diba, si A and B, meron na silang agreement in case maging lowest calculated bid si A, hindi niya natanggapin ang award para ma-award kay B. Diba? Yan. That is considered a fraudulent practice and considered a criminal offense under the IRR of RA 9184. Okay, now go to our second knowledge check.
Yes, sir. Okay, for our second knowledge check, we will be again flashing the question through the Zoom polling feature, and all we have to do is choose the appropriate answers in the pop-up poll that shall be flashing our screens. The question is the non-submission or delay in submission of documents for the final awarding of contract considered automatically as withdrawal of bid? Yes or no? Kamusta naman kaya ang sagot ng ating mga Zoom participants for this knowledge check? Okay pa ba tayo? Also, if you have questions related to this topic, please feel free to ask them through the Zoom chat box. And for our Facebook Live viewers, drop them through the comment section.
Please like and share. Huh?
Yes, sir.
Ito, dalawang choices lang, di ba?
Yes,
Chamba-chamba lang. Sabi nga ng professor ko, chamba-chamba lang yan.
50-50.
Oo. Pero hindi chachamba ang ating mga participants dahil alam nila yan.
Yes, sir. I think po we have reached the majority.
Bilis.
So majority of our participants from the Zoom platform answered no. Must be proven to be without justifiable cause. Let us see if that is indeed the correct answer, sir.
Ano ba? Yes.
Tama po ba sila, sir?
Tama po. Tama po. Sorry.
Ayun,
Tama
okay
po.
naman pala.
Ang sagot ay no. Must be first proven to be without justifiable cause. So dapat yung delay or yung non-submission or non-acceptance of the withdrawal of the award or non-acceptance of the award should be proven the justifiable cause bago siya ma-consider na criminal act under this law. Yun.
Okay, thank you again to sir and to our participants for participating in this knowledge check questions. Let us now proceed to our discussion.
Thank you, Ms. Kyla. Galing naman ng mga participants natin para ayoko na mag-lecture. So, okay. Next, we have the civil liability. Diba? Under the law, a person, a judge, criminally liable is also civilly liable. So, So ano yung mga civil liability na restitution for damage done? Dito, as seen in this picture, the restitution is payment for someone or giving an equivalent value to compensate them for damages or loss. So eto, i-determine ni courts yan kung magkano ang na-damage nyo sa gobyerno when you are adjudged criminally liable. Also, you have civil forfeiture. So, forfeiture in favor of the government, any unwarranted benefit from act or acts in question or both at the discretion of the court. So, dito rin, i-determine ni courts kung magkano ang i-forfeit. Halimbawa, dahil sa mga corrupt practices ng isang MAC member, nakabili siya ng Lamborghini or Ferrari dahil doon nga, kahit kumita siya dahil sa corrupt practices niya, he was able, and it was proven in court na criminally liable siya. And na-determine rin ni court na yung Ferrari niya, it was proven in court na yung Ferrari niya was the fruit of his corrupt practices, of his criminal acts. That can be yung Ferrari na yon or Lamborghini may be forfeited in favor. Will be forfeited in favor of the government. We now go to administrative sanctions. Administrative sanctions natin, so suspension would be suspension. Ano ba yung mga administrative sanctions? Suspension for first offense 1 year, second offense 2 years. This is suspension, as we will discuss earlier, is an interim penalty wherein the bidder is disqualified or prohibited from participating in the public bidding process of a specific of the agency. Okay. Second, would be disqualification from further participating in public bidding being undertaken by the forfeiture of bid security or performance security, or the fourth administrative sanction is blacklisting. So, yan, discuss natin yung administrative sanctions later. So, now go to liabilities under RA 3019. So, I failed to mention earlier na ang criminal provisions, the filing of the criminal action under the criminal provisions of RA 9184 is without prejudice to the filing of actions filing other criminal actions under RA 3019. So why do we say without prejudice? So if you are filed, if a person or public officer, if a criminal action is filed against, if a criminal action under RA 9184 is filed against a public officer, pwede pa rin siyang kasuhan ng isa pang criminal action, ng other criminal action under RA 3019. So, magpapatong-patong ang kaso natin. So, kung approve so dapat i-avoid natin yung mga paggawa ng mga criminal acts, mga corrupt, collusive, fraudulent, and coercive acts. Diba? Yeah. So, ito yung liabilities under RA 3019. First, Section 3A, persuading, inducing, influencing another public officer to perform an act constituting a violation of rules and regulations, or allowing himself to be persuaded, induced, or influenced to commit such violation or offense. So, unang tanong natin dyan, ano ang persuading? Ano ang persuading? Ang sagot dyan, unang kasal. Persuading. Unang kasal. Yan. Tawa naman kayo. Yan. Mahirap pala dito talaga pag online lang. So in this offense, so syempre, sa law school, when we deal with specific criminal offenses, we look for the elements. So ano ang mga elements ng criminal provision na to? This is where public officer persuades, induce, or influence another public officer to perform an act. So dapat one of the elements dito is also committed. This is also committed by a public officer who persuades another public officer to perform the said acts. So we have to take note. So in this offense, yung nag-influence and yung nagpa-influence, di ba? Excuse me. And yung mga nagpa-influence are considered liable under this provision. Halimbawa, if you remember my example earlier, si back officer, si back member, yung boss niya, di ba, kanina, parang ini-influence dahil sinabi ng boss niya, hindi ka mako-consider sa promotion pag hindi mo in-approve. Pag dinisqualify mo si bidder, yung bidder na kaibigan ni Hope, nung boss mo, nung supervisor mo, yung general manager, di ba? So, kanina, under our criminal provisions of RA 9184, so ang criminally liable there would be yung nag-influence, nung unduly nag-influence dun sa back member or any other officer of the procuring entity. Dito sa RA 3019, dito ang nag-influence at na-influensyahan ay pwedeng makasuhan. So, careful tayo dapat siya. So, dapat ang mga back members should have unquestionable integrity. Yan. Next violation, the next liabilities. Violation which can be found under RA 3019. Directly or indirectly requesting or receiving any gift, present, share, percentage, or benefit for himself or for any other person in connection with any contract or transaction between the government and any other party wherein the public officer in his official capacity has to intervene under the law. So here we have three ways of violating this provision: directly requesting, indirectly requesting, and receiving. So hindi nyo pwedeng i-depensa na hindi naman ako nanghihingi, nagbigay siya, di ba? So manghingi ka or hindi ka manghingi, you can be held liable under this provision. That is why si BAC released, di ba, parang paano man nangyayari dito? Ano mga examples nito? Ba yung we can mention yung, di ba, procurement of firearms, di ba? And tas nilagay nyo dun sa terms of definition, there should be test firing. Siyempre, firearms kailangan nyo putukan. Kailangan nyo i-testing kung pumuputok yung baril, di ba? Tapos yung isang bidder offers, sir, purpose kung ganyan, parang dahil we don't have the firearms yet, it has yet to be manufactured outside the Philippines. So it will be manufactured outside the Philippines kasi is it okay if we bring you there and do the test firing in another country? Kami yung bahala, si bidder ang bahala. Diba? That is no-no, diba? That is a very, that cannot be allowed. So that is considered also, that can be considered a criminal offense na kung tinanggap mo yun, diba? Kung tinanggap mo yun. Kasi kung halimbawa ganun ang mangyayari, dadaling ka sa ibang bansa. So syempre, parang magka-cloud na yung decision mo, di ba? Magka-cloud na yung decision mo on that bidder. So, yan. Ano pa? So, you have to take note again. So, an example would be yung gifts sent by contractors and suppliers during Christmas season, sakto, bare months na. Or any pasasalamat gifts. So, dapat hindi natin tinatanggap yan. Yan. So, kasi violate tayo dito directly or indirectly requesting. So, dalawa na yan. Receiving. So, talagang wala kang takas dito sa provision na to kasi mere receipt of any gift, present, share, percentage for the benefit of himself in connection with any contract or transaction between the government and any other party, wherein the public officer in his official capacity has to intervene under the law. So, tatandaan natin lagi ang 3B, diba? So, mga procurement practitioners sa mga local governments, lagi natin tatandaan yan. Directly or indirectly requesting. So, the drawing speaks for itself. Next, would be accepting or having any member of his family accept employment in the private enterprise which has a pending official business with him during the pendency thereof or within 1 year after its termination. So, halimbawa, si Mr. A, member siya ng BAC, meron siyang BAC na graduate na, naghahanap na ng trabaho. Diba? IT, sakto, nag-procure si Mr. yung procuring entity na kasama si Mr. A.S. back na mga IT products sa isang company, si company, diba? Company B, diba? Tapos, and it was awarded din kay company B, diba? Tapos, halimbawa, hindi siya pwedeng, kung si anak ni Mr. A na back member, hindi siya pwedeng mag-apply doon kay company B. During the pendency of the transaction of company B with the procuring entity and 1 year after its termination. So, dapat kailangan kailangan ma-fulfill muna yung mga conditions bago pwedeng maka-accept si family, ma-accept yung family member ng public officer to the private enterprise. Next would be causing undue injury to any party, including the government, or giving any party any unwarranted benefits, advantage, or preference in the discharge of official, administrative, or judicial functions through manifest partiality, evident bad faith, or gross inexcusable negligence. Ito yung mga contractors na kahit overpriced, inaano mo pa rin, pinoprocure pa rin natin. Diba? Dahil partial ka, dahil malakas sa'yo, parang kilala mo na yung supplier na to. Diba? yan, dyan papasok yung violation niya. Next would be entering on behalf of government into any contract or transaction manifestly and grossly disadvantageous to the government, whether or not the public officer will profit or profited thereby. Bawa, enter siya ng isang overpriced contract. Overpriced na, parang low quality pa. Yan. You can be liable under this provision. So dapat bago tayo mag-approve ng mga contract, mag-recommend, aaralin natin lahat ng mga post-qual report ni TWG. You have also to consider all factors, di ba? Before we recommend, before we enter into a transaction. So dito, whether you profit, whether kumita ka o hindi, you will be held liable. Diba? Same rin ang principal penalty under RE 3019 would be imprisonment of not less than 6 years and 1 day, but not more than 15 years. So may other penalties would be perpetual disqualification from public office and confiscation or forfeiture in favor of the government. Now go to the protest mechanism. Itong protest mechanism na to, this is now available to your bidders, to your bidders. So here, decisions of the BAC at any procurement stage may be questioned by the bidder by filing a request for reconsideration. Halimbawa, na-disqualify during post-qual, it's a bidder A. And he was informed by the BAC that yun nga, disqualified siya. So, ano ang remedy ni bidder A? So, first would be the filing of request for reconsideration within 3 calendar days upon receipt of the written notice or upon verbal notification. So, halimbawa, ngayon na-receive ni bidder A ang post-disqualification notice. Yan. So, in 3 calendar days, kailangan siyang mag-file ng request for reconsideration. So, you have to take note when we count days. Kung halimbawa, magbibilang tayo ng araw, lagi niyong tatandaan ang kantang Feli Nympha ang pangalan ng Itchy Worms. Ha? Feli. Bakit Feli Nympha ang pangalan? So, tandaan niyo lang si Feli. So, Feli. Bakit Feli? First day excluded, last day included. So, yan. Huwag niyo na i-search sa YouTube yung Feli Nympha ang pangalan. Yan. Basta yan, tatandaan. Si Feli, si Aling Feli, na may karinderya. Yan. So, kung halimbawa, ngayon yan na-receive yung notice for post-disqualification. Today is September 10, right? So, that's 3 days. So, first day excluded. So, excluded na ang September 10. So, that's 3 days. 11, 12, 13. Yes, until September 13 to file his request for reconsideration. So, hanggang Monday, 13, Monday. Kasi calendar days. Speak of calendar days, kasamang weekends dyan. However, pag halimbawa yung third day, or basta yung third day, Kung ano ba yung third day nag-fall on a weekend. So, syempre, doon na tayo sa magpa-file sa next working day. Diba? Or weekend or a holiday. Or holiday. Diba? Sa next working day na tayo pwede mag-file. So, file siya ng So, yes, until September 13 to file his request for consideration. So, after which, kung si BAC naman has 7 calendar days from receipt of the request for consideration to act upon the request for consideration, to decide upon the request for consideration. So, Feb 13, diba, nag-file siya ng Feb 13. Hanggang kailan pwede mag-decide si BAC on the request for consideration. Is it until February? September 20? Not necessarily. Halimbawa, kung file siya ng September 13 pero hindi pa na-receive kagad, di ba yung resolution, yung request for consideration. Kailan na-receive? Halimbawa, na-receive ni BAC yung request for consideration September 15. Pero na-file niya, diba, minsan hindi kagad na-forward kay BAC. Diba? Yan yung pang dinadaan ng mga... So, pero na-receive ng procuring entity noong September 13. Diba? Pasok si bidder A noong September 13. Pero hindi pa na-inform sa BAC. Hindi pa nare-receive ni BAC mismo. So, diba, na-receive ni BAC noong September 15. So pag naman September 15, we will count another 7 calendar days from receipt of the BAC. So, using our fairly principle. So, first day excluded. So, hindi mo na bibilangin 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Yes, until September 22 to 5. The BAC has until September 22 to decide on the request for consideration. So, what if denied si request for consideration? That is when pwede na mag-file ng protest si bidder kay Hope. That is when pwede na siyang file kay Hope yung protest. So protest, lagi natin tatandaan, dapat bago mag-file ng protest si bidder kay Hope, bago umabot kay Hope ang protest, dapat meron na tayong prior request for reconsideration denied by the BAC. Dapat meron tayong ganun. So, what are the requisites for filing a protest? This must be in writing through a verified position paper, accompanied by a payment of a non-refundable protest fee to be paid in cash and a certificate against forum shopping. Filed addressed to the Hope. Filed within 7 calendar days from receipt of the request, denial of the request for consideration. Kung halimbawa, di ba, September 22, nag-decide na si BAC to deny the request for consideration ni bidder. Gaano katagal pa? Do we count 7 calendar days from September 22? Or do we wait until ma-receive ni bidder A yung notice? Siyempre, we wait until yung yung reglementary period should be, the counting of the reglementary period should start from the time na receive ni bidder A yung denial of request for cancellation. Diba? Kung, halimbawa, ngayon, na-receive ni bidder A yung denial of request for cancellation. So, araw, daily principal is 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 years until September 17 to file this protest. Or yan na natin sa example natin kanina. Diba? Yung nag-file si bidder A ng request for consideration. Na-receive niya yung notice for post-qual ngayon. I-file this request for consideration on September 13, pero na-receive niya back on September 15 dahil nga may pinagdaanan pa sa so the back has until September 22 to decide do sa request for consideration. Dinenay niya request for consideration, and it was received by bidder A on September 24. So, ang counting natin ng 7 calendar days within which to file yung protest before the hope would start on September 24. So, September 24 na receive. So, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. October 1 siya. Yes, until October 1 to file his protest before the hope. So, ano ba itong verified possession paper? Dapat, yung mga contents, yung first name and office address, name of project or contract, implementing office, or entity, yung brief statement of facts, we state the issues to be resolved, other matters and information pertinent and relevant to the proper resolution of protest, and the certification against forum shopping. Certification against forum shopping, this is a separate affidavit wherein you state that you have not filed an action similar, an action involving the issue similar to the issue to be resolved in any court, tribunal, or quasi-judicial entity. So, what do we mean verified possession paper? Dapat kasama rin yan, may verify, kaya pag nag-file ng protest, kung halimbawa nag-file, ito protest na, yung protest ang sinasabi ko. Nag-file ng protest, si bidder, kailangan meron siyang separate affidavit. So dapat ang heading verification and certification against forum shopping. Verification, but may verification to state that the affiant has read and understood the contents thereof and the allegations therein are true and correct of his personal knowledge or based on authentic records. Yan. Kasama yan dapat. Kasama yan dapat sa inyong verified possession paper. Kung unverified possession paper shall be considered unsigned and produces no legal effect. So pag naman yung protest niya is unverified, outright i-dismiss yan dapat ng hope. Hindi na dapat ina-entertain. Diba? So it's not yung failure to comply with the requirements of verification shall not be curable by mere amendment of the possession paper. Now go to the resolution na tayo ng protest. So, di ba? Pag tayo mag-protest, dapat merong nag-file muna si bidder ng request for reconsideration. So, na-receive niya. So, from receipt, denied request for reconsideration, he has 7 calendar days from receipt of the party concerned, by the receipt of the party concerned, of the resolution of the back denying in its request for consideration. So, syempre, dapat in the form of verified position paper and the payment of a non-refundable protest fee. The verified position paper and payment of the non-refundable protest fee should go hand in hand. These are essential requisites. So when we say essential requisites, dapat yung isa, dapat lagi silang magkasama. Kung magpa-file ka ng protest before the hope. Kung verified position paper lang, hindi ka naman nagbayad ng protest fee, it may be denied. It shall be denied. Diba? Kung nagbayad ka na ng protest fee, what for? Hindi ka naman nag-protest. Diba? Yan. Kung halimbawa, nag-file siya ng protest, si bidder, in the form of a verified position paper at nagbayad siya ng non-refundable protest fee. So, the hope shall resolve the protest fee within 7 calendar days from receipt thereof. So, kung ano ang decision ni Hope, if-furnish siya ni Backset ng copy of the decision within 7 calendar days from receipt of the decision. So, there. So, kailan tayo pupunta sa korte? So, dapat under the doctrine of exhaustion of administrative, hindi pwede magpupunta directly to the courts si bidder for na post-qualify siya. Hindi, demanda ko yan sa korte. So, ginawa yan ni bidder outright. I-dismiss ang kaso niya for lack of jurisdiction. Kasi the filing of a request for reconsideration, the resolution, filing of protest, the filing of a protest before the hope is a condition precedent bago tayo pwede mag-file ng action before the court. Diba? Ito ang ating range for the protest fee. Go as low as 0.75 of the ABC to 1 of the ABC for 5 billion pesos. 5 billion pesos project. Ano ang 0.1% of 5 billion pesos? We now go to our third knowledge check.
Okay, you know the drill, guys. For our final knowledge check for this topic, please choose the appropriate answer in the pop-up poll that shall be flashed on our screens. The question is, the non-payment of the protest fee does not toll the prescriptive period for filing a protest, and it becomes a justifiable basis for the hope not to entertain a protest. Is this statement true or false? Okay, good morning again sa ating mga Facebook Live viewers from Iloilo City, Palawan, Santa Rosa, Laguna, CCWI Region 4B, and LGU Alcala. We hope you are doing okay wherever you are, and we are happy that you are joining us for our 5th day. So you may also answer our knowledge check question by typing in your answers in the comment section. May I ask po kung nagkaka-error po ba yung ating mga participants in answering through the Zoom polling feature? Okay po. So nagkaka-error daw po as per our participants, sir, but majority of our participants answered true.
Yeah.
Is this the correct answer po?
The correct answer is true.
Ayan.
So, yeah, very good po sa majority. Galing. Galing natin. Galing nyo. Non-payment of protest fee does not toll. What do we mean when does not toll. So, kumbaga, kung hindi ka nagbayad ng protest fee, tuloy-tuloy pa rin ang pag, ah, pag, paglipas ng prescriptive period mo. So, and it becomes a justifiable basis for the hope not to entertain the protest. Kasi, as I've said earlier, yung protest, the verified position paper, in filing a protest, the verified position paper and the payment of the protest fee goes hand in hand. Pasensya na kayo sa ko, namatay. So, dapat, these are conditions precedent before you file a proper protest. Kung nag-file ka lang ng verified position paper at hindi ka nagbayad ng protest fee, pwedeng i-deny na. Pwedeng hindi i-entertain or i-deny outright ni Hope ang iyong protest.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for that explanation. That ends our discussion proper for today's first learning session. That was Attorney Jainito Roy, C. Atis of the Department of Justice. And again, thank you very much, sir, for leading an in-depth discussion on protest mechanism and remedies. Of course, we would like to also thank our participants for actively participating in our knowledge check questions. Now, at this juncture, before we proceed to our second and final learning session for today, let us first watch a short audiovisual presentation on government procurement. We may likewise use this portion to have a short bio break. For questions, you may still drop them in our Zoom chat box and Facebook live comment section. As our resource speaker will be back again to answer and accommodate them after the break. So thank you very much and see you in a short while.
Do you know that procurement is crucial in achieving our society's collective vision of a strongly rooted, comfortable, and secure life in the Philippines? Hello everyone, I'm Billy Bayong. Let me show you how our Procurement Policy Board innovates, adapts, and responds to our changing needs to enhance the procurement system and help the government work for us. An efficient, transparent, and competitive procurement system connects every Filipino to vital services from the government. This can help move more people out of poverty, gain access to better education, receive quality healthcare, and enjoy economic opportunities. These yield greater trust in government institutions and bring the country closer to achieving its national development goals. The Government Procurement Policy Board focuses on simplifying various processes to produce more successful procurement that contributes to the effectiveness and efficiency of the government. The board employs strategies to identify needs and implement projects. It refines and calibrates procurement policies, adjusting to emerging trends based on needs of procuring entities. It creates ways to capacitate practitioners to better manage their procurement processes, monitor effectiveness of our procurement systems, and it adapts to the times, especially during national emergencies. The GPPB has strengthened the procurement process at the earliest stage, the planning phase. The board has issued bidding rules responsive to new laws and policies set by the government. GPPB has also streamlined the bidding process through the use of technology. GPPB has introduced guidelines to ensure timely procurement, especially during a national emergency. GPPB Technical Support Office pioneered initiatives to better assist procuring entities. Simple and competitive, transparent and accountable, monitored by the people. These make for an effective procurement system, responsive to the needs of the people. The GPPB, adapting, responding, innovating for nation building. To know more about procurement, visit gppb.gov.ph.
Yan ang ulam natin.
Wow! Adobong manok!
Mabango. Masarap. Subo na. Simulan sa sarsa.
Malasa!
Pasok ang lasa. Pero may isang hindi pasok. Matigas ang manok. Bakit kaya? Dahil pangit ang quality ng manok, minadali pa ang pagluluto. Ay, sayang ang pera. Dapat mitikuloso. Tama?
Tama!
Ganyan din sa gobyerno natin. Gusto natin ng masarap na adobo. Matinong proseso na mula sa maayos na pagpaplano. Ang pagbili ng gamit ng gobyerno ay dapat nakaayon sa proseso upang matiyak ang pagbili ay sulit. Huwag muna magkamot ng ulo. Madali lang ang procurement. Hindi ito komplikado. Kailangan lang ng masusing pagpaplano at pagsunod sa proseso na itinakda ng Republic Act 9184. Ang RA 9184, mas kilala bilang Government Procurement Reform Act o GPRA, ay ang batas na nagtakda ng tamang proseso sa pagbili ng mga pangangailangan ng gobyerno, kagaya ng supplies, mga equipment, at general support services. Bahagi ng proseso ng pagbili ay ang procurement planning. Dito, nagpa-prioritize ng projects ang mga ahensya para makamit ang kanilang goals sang-ayon sa long-term plan ng buong gobyerno. Kasama rito ang pagtukoy sa tamang specifications at budget para sa procurement project. Lahat ng napagdesisyon ng procurement projects ng isang ahensya ay ililista sa kanilang Annual Procurement Plan o APP kada taon. Anumang hindi nakalista sa APP ay hindi maaaring bilhin ng ahensya.
Bakit?
Para masiguro ang matalino at wastong paggamit ng pondo.
Tapos?
Para makasiguro na kumpleto at wastong lahat ng dokumento, ang ahensya ay magkakandak ng pre-procurement conference bago simulan ang pagbili. Mahalaga na malinaw ang pagkakasaad ng specifications and requirements sa bidding documents. Sunod dito ang paglalathala ng invitation to bid para hikayatin ang mga potential bidders na sumali sa procurement. Bago ang takdang araw ng pagsumite ng bids, magkakaroon ng pre-bid conference kung saan pag-uusapan kasama ang mga interesadong bidders ang lahat ng detalye tungkol sa proyekto. Ang mga interesadong bidders ay dapat palalahanan sa deadline ng submission of bids. Hindi kasi pwedeng tumanggap ng bid lagpas sa itinakdang petsa at oras. Tandaan na ang bid ay dapat na selyado at naglalaman ng dalawang hiwalay at selyadong envelopes kung saan nakapaloob ang mga required technical at financial documents. Ang technical envelope ay naglalaman ng mga dokumento na magpapatunay na eligible ang bidder na sumali sa procurement at ng kanyang technical na kakayanang i-deliver ang goods. Ang financial envelope naman ay naglalaman ng presyo na iniaalok ng bidder para sa proyekto. Isa-isang idadaan ng BAC sa simpleng pass or fail preliminary examination ang mga natanggap na bids para matukoy kung kumpleto ang mga dokumento at kung naaayon ito sa pamantayan. Unang bubuksan ang technical envelope ng lahat ng bidders. Kapag kulang o mali ang dokumentong nasa technical envelope ng bidder, hindi na bubuksan ang kanyang financial envelope. Ibig sabihin, tanggal na siya sa bidding. Kapag na-scrutinize na ang lahat ng technical envelopes, saka palang bubuksan ang financial envelopes ng mga nakapasang bidders. Laging tatandaan na hindi dapat mas mataas sa ABC ang presyo na iniaalok ng bidder. Anumang bid ang mas mataas sa ABC ay matatanggal rin.
Bakit?
Dahil ang ABC ang limitasyon ng presyo ng proyekto. Para masiguro ng gobyerno na hindi ito gagastos ng higit pa sa naibudget para sa taon. Sabi nga nila, spend within your means. Bubusisiin naman sa bid evaluation ang mga nakapasang bids upang, una, masigurong kumpleto at naaayon sa pamantayan ang mga impormasyon. At ikalawa, masigurong hindi labis sa ABC ang presyong ini-offer ng bidder. Pagkatapos nito, ay irarank ang mga nakapasang bids mula sa pinakamababang presyo. Ang pinakamababang bid ang tataguriang lowest calculated bid o LCB na isasalang sa post-qualification.
Post-qualification?
Ito ang proseso kung saan sinusuri ng BAC o ng Technical Working Group ang mga dokumento at impormasyong isinumite para matiyak na lahat ay tama at nasa ayos. Sinusuri rin ang mga nakaraang kontrata, pasilidad, produkto at pati pinansyal na katayuan ng LCB para masigurong kaya nitong i-deliver ang goods.
Bakit?
Dahil sa ganitong paraan, masisiguro ng BAC na ang mananalong bidder ay hindi lamang basta mababa ang presyo, kundi ito ay technically qualified. Kapag napatunayan sa pagsusuri na ang LCB ay nakapasa sa legal, technical at financial requirements, ito ay tatawaging bidder na may lowest calculated responsive bid o LCRB na irerekomenda na gawaran ng kontrata.
Ah!
O ayan, ang proseso ng procurement sa gobyerno ay kasing dali lang ng pagluluto ng adobo. Kapag naplano at nahanap ang tamang sangkap, malamang walang palpak. Sa ganyang paraan, walang nasasayang. Tiyak na best quality at the best price ay swak na swak. Approve?
Approve!
I hope everyone is back. Again, that was a short audio-visual presentation on government procurement. For more quick guide in government procurement and other related short videos and audio-visual presentations, you may visit our official website at www.gppb.gov.ph. At this juncture, we are down to the second and final learning session of today's program. Discuss and share his expertise on blacklisting guidelines. Once again, let us have our resource speaker, Attorney Jainito Roy C. Atis.
Hello, I'm back. Okay. We will now go to the second part of our discussion today. Yeah. Blacklisting guidelines under the IRR of RA 9184. Yeah, so blacklisting guidelines. Pero blue ang screen natin. So, joke lang. So, ano mga objectives natin? So, of course, by the end of this module, understand natin, malalaman natin kung ano ang procedures in imposing the administrative sanctions in the form of blacklisting to bidders who committed any violations during the competitive bidding or contract implementation stage. Dito na nalaman natin kung ano yung mga instance na pwede natin i-blacklist ang certain supplier. So this depends on whether we are still under the competitive bidding stage or during the contract implementation stage. Malalaman rin natin dito kung how to initiate yung blacklisting proceedings and yun nga, yung proper procedures, di ba? Also, we gain substantial knowledge on the responsibilities of the back secretariat, observers, bidders, and the end users or implementing units relative to the issuance and posting of the blacklisting order. So, ito na yung outline. So, first we discuss the uniform guidelines, then we discuss the blacklisting procedure during procurement stage and the blacklisting procedure during contract implementation stage. So, you have two different stages wherein we can initiate blacklisting procedure. So first, we have the uniform guidelines. This is found under GPPB Resolution 40-2017. So, ito yung mga i-discuss ko later. Also, we have GPPB Resolution 40-2020. This approves the prescribed form of the blacklisting order and the implementation of the blacklisting portal for posting and updating of status of blacklisted entities. So, dito yung blacklisting portal, basically, dahil dati si GPPB, TSO lang ang pinagsasabitan natin ng blacklisting, GPPB, nagpo-post ng mga blacklisted bidders or suppliers. Now, meron ng access si procuring entity na pwede na sila mismo na ang pwedeng mag-post. So yung procuring entities, pwede na rin mag-post ng blacklisted suppliers or entities. Excuse me. First, we have to define what is blacklisting. So, blacklisting is an administrative penalty disqualifying a person or an entity from participating in any government procurement for a given period. So, any government procurement. So, this covered from once the blacklist ka, hindi ka na pwedeng mag-participate in any government procurement regardless of the method of procurement yan. So, for a given period. So, dito, when we say person or entity, this is not limited to only an individual. When we say person, it can also be a corporation or a partnership or a joint venture or a cooperative. Diba? Sino ang blacklisted person or entity? Person was disqualified by an agency and or is included in the GPPB Consolidated Blacklisting Report. There. Next naman is an interim penalty imposed for infractions committed by a bidder during the procurement stage, whereby such bidder is prohibited from further participation in any the bidding process of an agency. This shall be effective during the period of motion for reconsideration and or appeal and shall terminate only upon final decision by the HO or appellate authority. So, yung suspension, dito lang available lang siya sa contract implementation stage. So, discuss natin yan kung bakit may suspension pa. So, sa contract implementation, we first suspend the bidder or the entity. After which, kung naging final and executory na yung decision to suspend the said bidder or entity, that is when we will issue a blacklisting order. So, there. Sa appellate authority, department, office, or government unit exercising general and or administrative supervision or control over the blacklisting agency. So department levels shall exercise appellate authority over agencies, bureaus, government units, GOCCs, and SUCs under their jurisdiction. So for government agencies na hindi under general or administrative supervision or control of any department, sa office, yung blacklisting decision nila would be final and executory. So delisting. Itong delisting, this is the removal of a person or entity from the consolidated blacklisting report. So, a blacklisted person shall be automatically delisted after the period of the penalty has elapsed. So dati kasi a blacklisted person may still remain in the blacklisting, consolidated blacklisted report, even after the period of penalty upon the request of the procuring entity that blacklisted the said person. Dati kasi, pwede pang mag-remain si blacklisted entity sa blacklisted report upon request of the procuring entity. Pero ngayon, once na fulfill na ano na niya yung penalty, na complete na niya yung penalty, automatically delisted na si entity. So, sino yung covered ng blacklisting? So, as I've said earlier, when we say person, it is not limited to an individual, di ba? So for individuals or sole proprietorships, cover dito ang mga asawa ng individual. Yung mga asawa, bidders and spouses. So, yung mismong na blacklist and their spouses. Minsan kasi yung spouse nila, sila yung magtatansa on behalf of them to go around the blacklisting, to circumvent yung blacklisting. So, cover dyan yung blacklist, yung spouses. For partnerships, siyempre, the partnership itself and its partners. So, kung na-blacklist ang isang partnership, yung mga partners na lahat, yung mga partners doon, hindi na pwedeng mag-participate. Considered blacklisted na din. Cooperatives, the cooperative itself, the member of the board of directors, general manager, or chief executive officer. So, yan yung mga covered sa blacklisting. For partnership or joint venture or consortium or has blacklisted members and or partners as well as a person or entity who is a member of a blacklisted joint venture or consortium. So in joint venture, pag halimbawa blacklisted yung mga members sa joint venture or consortium, blacklisted na rin sila yung joint venture na yan. For partnership, so pag yung halimbawa sa joint venture may tatlong partnerships, yung tatlong partnerships, tatlong entities na partnership for joint venture. Kahit isa lang sa kanila ma-blacklist, considered blacklist na yung joint venture nila. Kung halimbawa yung joint venture naman na blacklist, yung members ng joint venture na yun, blacklisted din. For corporations, a single stockholder together with his or her relatives up to the third civil degree or consanguinity or infinity, and their assignees holding at least 20% of the shares therein, its chairman and president. Next would be ang inaabangan ng lahat, ang knowledge check.
Ayan, sir. For our first knowledge check for this session, the question is, blacklisting is an interim penalty imposed for infractions committed by a contractor during the competitive bidding stage, whereby such contractor is prohibited from further participation in the bidding process of the agency. Is this statement true or false? Again, if our participants are having difficulty in answering the question, you may also drop them in the Zoom chat box. Pero may nakita naman na po akong mga nag-a-answer using our Zoom polling feature. So, mas okay po sana kung doon po tayo sa Zoom polling feature mag-answer. All right, I think we reached the majority. So 64% of our participants from the Zoom platform answered false. Let us see if this is indeed the correct answer, sir.
Yes, the answer is false. Galing, galing ng majority. So, ang sagot dyan, hindi blacklisting. Suspension is an interim penalty imposed for infractions committed by a contractor during competitive bidding stage. Diba? Whereby such contractor is prohibited from further participation in the bidding process of an agency. So yan, ang sagot dyan is false. Dahil imbis na blacklisting, dapat dyan suspension.
All right, thank you very much, Attorney Addis, for that explanation. Let us now proceed with our session.
Next, we have the blacklisting. Blacklisting during competitive bidding stage. So, ito yung mga, usually yung mga criminal acts, pwede mo rin, halimbawa, na ano nyo sa criminal act, you can still file an administrative action against such. So similar siya sa criminal provisions, yung submission of eligibility requirements containing false information or falsified documents, di ba? Example natin dito, yung PhilJEPS certification natin, yung registration, yung platinum membership, sinabit nila, valid naman, pero however, upon checking, ang tip dito, we can check yung validity ng mga PhilJEPS registration, regardless of whether platinum or red membership lang yan. Makikita natin yan dun sa website ng PhilJEPS. So, submission of bids that contain false information or falsified documents or concealment of such information in the bids in order to influence the outcome of the eligibility screening or any other stage of public bidding. So, ito yung submission, yung example natin kanina, yung pag-submit niya ng SLCC. Kung halimbawa, 1 million yung project, and the SLCC should be at least 50% of the ABC. So, dapat ang SLCC mo is 500, pero ang sinubmit niya is ang 600, when in truth and in fact, 300,000 lang ang SLCC niya. So pag na-verify natin yan, so that's why we have post-qualification to verify yung mga documents na sinasabit niya. So kung halimbawa, na-prove natin, na-verify natin during post-qualification yung kanyang SLCC, verify na 300,000 lang. So, that is considered an administrative, that is a ground for blacklisting during competitive stage. Kasi nga, you misrepresented your SLCC, di ba? Also, refusal to clarify or validate in writing its bid during post-qualification within a period of 7 calendar days from receipt of the request for clarification. So, ito, pag hindi we requested for clarification, still hindi siya nag-clarify after 7 calendar days from receipt of the request. So that can be considered a ground for blacklisting during the competitive bidding stage. So next would be any documented unsolicited attempt by a bidder to unduly influence the outcome of the bidding in his favor. So, siyempre, dito ay discuss natin kanina yung under RAC 019, yung directly or indirectly requesting, di ba? Or receiving, yan. So, pag nagbigay siya, di ba, nagbigay lang ng alak yan. Di ba, si bidder, meron, kumbaga, during the bid valuation na padala siya ng mga pagkain, ng alak sa bid, sa back, di ba? That is considered a ground for blacklisting. Any documented unsolicited attempt by a bidder to unduly influence. So si bidder na mismo ang unduly influence, kay back, di ba? Siyempre, that is without prejudice to any criminal action which the procuring entity may pursue. Diba? Next would be allowing the use of one's name or using the name of another for the purpose of public bidding. So dito, kung na-determine natin na, so ang mabablacklist dito, ang gumamit at ang nagpagamit, diba? Ng pangalan for the purpose of blacklisting. Diba? Example, balikan natin yung example earlier na yun nga, merong isang bidder na kulang pa, kumaga hilaw pa ang experience niya sa public bidding. Tapos kinausap niya yung mas malaking bidder, si bidder B, di ba? Na paggamit naman ng pangalan mo para makaparticipate ako dito sa bidding ni procuring entity. So, here, you can blacklist both, di ba? Yung nagpagamit at gumamit ng pangalan. Next would be withdrawal of a bid, or refusal to accept an award or enter into contract without justifiable cause, after he had been adjudged as having submitted the lowest calculated responsive bid for procurement of goods and infra, or the highest rated responsive bid for procurement of consulting services. Yeah. So ang root word natin dito dapat yung withdrawal of a bid or refusal to accept an award would be without justifiable cause. Dapat without justifiable cause bago natin siya pwedeng i-blacklist. So there. Next would be refusal or failure to post the required performance security within the prescribed time. So dapat, di ba, under the law, under the rules, di ba, you have to post yung performance security within 10 calendar days upon receipt of the notice of award, di ba, sa public bidding. Yan. Pag wala siyang performance, pwede mo na siya i-blacklist. Next would be all other acts that tend to defeat the purpose of competitive bidding, such as habitually withdrawing from bidding or submitting late bids, or patently insufficient bids for at least 3 times within a year, except for valid reasons. So, baka meron tayong binibid na nagpa-participate siya. So, lagi siya late, yung insufficient lagi yung bid niya, nagwi-withdraw yung bid niya. So, dapat, kung yung mga yan, yung 3 times, dapat without justifiable reasons. Kung ma-determine natin without justifiable reasons, pwede natin i-blacklist siya. That will be a ground for blacklist during contract implementation stage. So what are the sanctions? So, syempre, dahil contract implementation stage, competitive bidding stage pa lang tayo, procurement stage or procurement stage, forfeit yung bid security for feature. First offense, for the first offense, blacklisting for 1 year. Second offense, blacklisting for 2 years. And enforcement of the bid securing declaration. Yung sa ating bid security, one of the forms of bid security. Of course, this is without prejudice to the imposition of additional administrative sanctions or further criminal prosecution. Dahil, as we've seen earlier, some of the provisions, some of the grounds for blacklisting during contract implementation is also similar to the grounds which are considered criminal under this law. Ito yung flowchart ng ating blacklisting procedures during competitive bidding stage. First, sino na pwede mag-initiate na action dahil competitive bidding stage, procurement stage pa lang tayo, and a bidder or prospective bidder, a duly authorized observer, or the back, not appropriate, or itself. Diba? Pwede siyang mag-initiate ng blacklisting during procurement stage. So, syempre, initiate the action, we notify si contractor on writing yung existence of the grounds for blacklisting. So, ano yung kasama sa notice? So, that a complaint has been filed, is opportunity to show cause that the hearing shall be conducted upon request, and he will be informed of the consequence of being suspended and thereafter blacklisted. So bakit lagi itong pag-notify natin kay contractor, this is covered under the due process clause found under the 1987 Constitution. Dapat lagi tayong may due process. So this is the right of the person to be informed of the nature and the cause of the charges against him. So dapat alam niya. So kaya lahat yan minimension natin during sa kanyang notice. Thereafter, so si contractor has 5 calendar days from receipt of notification to answer the back with documentary evidence and request or review kung gusto niya. So, without time extension. So, halimbawa, ngayon natin pina-receive. Ngayon na-receive and ngayon na-receive ni contractor notice. Notice ni procurement entity for notice for blacklisting. So, yeah, he has 5 calendar days. Kung September 10 nga ngayon na-receive September 10, using the failure principle, yes, until 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, yes, until February na naman lang magsasabi February. September 15 to file his answer. Okay. What if, yeah, I wanna know what if hindi nag-submit ng answer si contractor? So after 5 calendar days, after September or after, for example, after September 15, hindi siya nag-file ng answer. Action na ngayon ni BAC, magre-recommend na si BAC the suspension of the contractor and the forfeiture of the bid security. So i-recommend na ni BAC kay Hope yan. So si Hope has 15 calendar days from receipt of the back resolution and records of the back proceeding and determine the existence of reasonable cause. So, bilangin nyo na lang. So, kung halimbawa ngayon na-receive ni Hope yung resolution ni back on the proceeding, yung sa kanyang blacklisting proceeding, 15 calendar days. So, are up to September 25. Whether to dismiss the case, kung if he finds no reasonable cause to suspend or blacklist said supplier, if he finds reasonable cause, mag-i-issue siya ngayon ng suspension order and the forfeiture of the bid security. Ito naman ngayon, what if sumagot naman in 5 calendar days si supplier dun sa notice ni procurement entity? So titingnan natin kung sa answer niya if he requests for hearing, kung may request for hearing. Kung may request for hearing, siyempre immediately sa set ni back yung hearing. Siyempre yung hearing natin should be non-litigious in nature. So parang simple hearing lang yan. So shall be terminated within 5 days. So there. So after which, determine ngayon ni BAC ang existence of fault. Siyempre based on the complaint, the answer, and the documentary evidence and facts verified. Kung hindi naman siya nag-request for hearing, diretso na i-determine ni BAC ang existence of fault. Kung after which, si BAC ngayon, i-recommend niya kay Hope yung findings niya dun sa answer ni contractor. So, recommends to the Hope suspension of the contractor in the bid forfeiture of bid security. So, si Hope naman has 15 calendar days from receipt of the back resolution to determine reasonable cause. So, kung wala siyang makitang reasonable cause to blacklist supplier, the case will be dismissed. Kung meron naman, mag-i-issue ngayon ng suspension order and forfeiture of bid security. Diba? Suspension order. So, as you've said, this is an interim penalty wherein the supplier is prohibited from participating in any procurement activity of the government agency, of the procuring entity, di ba? Kung sino nag-issue ng suspension, dun prohibited kung dun prohibited mag-participate si contractor ngayon in any of the procurement activities of the said procuring entity. So, kung sino nag-issue ng suspension order, doon muna hindi pwedeng mag-participate si contractor sa any procurement activity. Halimbawa sa DOJ, na-issuehan siya ng suspension order. Pwede pa ba siyang mag-participate sa bidding ng halimbawa DFA, ng DND, ng DOH? Pwede pa naman. Kasi yung suspension order niya still covers only DOJ. So paano lalabas yung blacklisting order niya? So, this will be the slide. Yeah. So pag yung notice of decision to suspend, the Hope shall furnish the suspended contractor a copy of the decision immediately after its promulgation. So upon receipt of the notice of the decision, contractor is now suspended. So the suspension shall remain during the period of motion for reconsideration and appeal. Shall terminate only upon the reversal of the decision by the Hope or the appellate authority. Kung hindi naman siya nag-file ng motion for reconsideration, yung notice, yung decision to suspend shall be final and executory after the lapse of 7 calendar days. Tapos, mag-i-issue na ngayon si Hope ng blacklisting order to that contractor. So, pag naging final and executory, basta pag naging final and executory, ang notice, ang decision to suspend, dahil nga the grounds for blacklisting were committed during the procurement stage, tapos yung notice to suspend becomes final and executory, meaning after na-issue yung decision ni Hope to suspend a contractor after 7 calendar days at hindi siya nag-file ng motion for reconsideration or hindi siya nag-file ng appeal, magiging final and executory na ang notice, ang decision to suspend. Thereafter, pwede na mag-i-issue na si Hope ng blacklisting order. What if nag-file ng MR, motion for reconsideration and appeal, si contractor? So, si contractor files an MR within 3 calendar days from receipt of the notice of decision based on the following. So, decision does not conform with the new evidence, with evidence or facts or newly discovered evidence. So, dapat ito yung grounds mo for MR. And should be submitted, MR should be submitted in 3 calendar days from receipt of the, kung tapos you Hope files a motion, resolves the motion within 7 calendar days from receipt of the MR. So kung halimbawa denied ang MR mo, si contractor may file an appeal with the appellate authority within 7 calendar days from receipt of notice. Kung hindi siya nag-file ng appeal within 7 calendar days, mag-i-issue na si Hope ng blacklisting order. Kung nag-file siya ng appeal, i-resolve ng appellate authority yung appeal within 7 calendar days. Kung denied ang appeal, mag-i-issue na ngayon si Hope ng blacklisting order. Sa knowledge check.
Yes, sir. For a second knowledge check question, the question is, may a PE conduct necessary modification of the posted blacklisting orders? Yes or no? And for our technical team, may I please request to please flash the knowledge check question. Okay po, sa mga hindi pa po nakapag-register through our OTMS and through our Google form link, may I please remind everyone to check your Zoom chat box to access our Zoom or rather our GPP BTSO OTMS and our Google form links for us to verify your attendance for today's session. Okay po. So I think majority of our participants have already answered the Zoom poll. So for this question, 52% of our participants answered no. Tama po ba, sir, ang kanilang sagot?
Mali ang kanilang sagot.
Ayun,
sagot-
ayun nga lang.
Ay yes. So close lang naman. So may a PE conduct necessary modification of the posted blacklisting orders? Yes. Dahil meron na tayong in-issue na GPPB resolution na we're in on the online blacklisting portal. Dahil yung online blacklisting portal na yan, yung every procuring entity is given the authority to designate end users to post yung mga to post and to make the necessary modifications on the posted on the blacklisting online blacklisting portal. Yan. So okay lang yan.
Thank you very much, Attorney Atis, for that explanation. And let us now proceed to the final part of our learning session.
Ang bilis. 2 hours pa tayo dito. We now go to the blacklisting during contract implementation stage. So, kanina, diniscuss natin yung blacklisting during procurement stage, during the competitive bidding stage or the procurement stage. Ngayon naman, we will discuss the blacklisting procedures during contract implementation stage. Ito, contract implementation. Dito, na-award na, nag-execute na tayo ng contract. Diba? Yan. Hindi marunong mag-count. 1, 1, 3. So, first would be failure of the contractor due solely to his fault or negligence to mobilize and start work or performance within the specified period and the notice to proceed. So, dahil implementation tayo, after the notice to proceed, may certain period tayo within which to comply. So, hindi siya nakapag-mobilize, hindi siya nakapag-start. Dapat ang dito, for this ground, this should only be due to the fault or negligence of the contractor. So dapat dito ang may fault or negligence lang is si contractor. Diba? Para maging ground for blacklisting sa kanya. Kung merong fault si procuring entity, it cannot be a ground for blacklisting. Kung si contractor lang ang may fault, kung bakit hindi siya nakapag-mobilize, hindi siya nakapag-start ng work or performance or deliver, hindi siya nakapag-start ng delivery, that can be ground for blacklisting during contract implementation stage. Next would be failure by the contractor to fully and faithfully comply with its contractual obligations without valid cause, or failure by the contractor to comply with any written lawful instruction of the procuring entity or its representatives pursuant to the implementation of the contract. We have to remember the contract is the law between the parties. So dapat there should be faithful compliance of the contractual obligations of both the contractors, suppliers, or consultants, and the procuring entity. Dapat pareho silang nagko-comply doon. So dapat, if any one of them, parang if the contractor fails to perform faithfully, kung ba kulang-kulang yung mga dinideliver niya, late siya nag-deliver, di ba? Yung dinideliver niya is way below standards of what was agreed upon in the contract. That can be a ground for blacklisting. Next would be assignment and subcontracting of the contract or any part thereof, or substitution of key personnel named in the proposal without prior written approval by the PE. So, lagi na tatandaan as a general rule, subcontracting is not allowed. So, may general rule tayo, lagi tayo may exception. Exception kung merong written approval si procuring entity. Diba? Makikita nyo naman yun sa terms of reference, lagi subcontracting is not allowed. Kung sinabi doon na subcontracting is allowed, diba? Then, only then, na pwede. Kung halimbawa, nag-subcontract sila or nag-assign sila ng contract sa ibang entity during a contract implementation, that is a ground for blacklisting. Dapat kung mag-assign man sila or magsa-subcontract man sila, there should be prior written approval. So, from the PE. So, yung substitution of key personnel, di ba, sa procurement of consultancy services, meron tayong mga key personnel. So, dapat kung ano yung sinabit nila, yun dapat yung mga, kung meron tayong i-replace, dapat i-inform ni contractor or ni consultant yung mga i-replace nilang key personnel in their proposal. Dapat inform nila muna bago nila i-replace. Di ba? So, those are the grounds. Next will be for the procurement of goods and satisfactory progress in the delivery of the goods by the manufacturer, supplier, or distributor arising from his fault or negligence, and or unsatisfactory or inferior quality of goods as may be provided in the contract. This consists of two grounds. So, pwede lang taken together or pwedeng taken separately. So, kasi nga, yan tayong and or, diba? So, in delivery nila, di ba, meron tayong progress delivery. So, halimbawa, ang bagal ng progress in delivery nila. So, dapat by this day, 50% tapos yung contract implementation nila, umabot na ng date na yun, pero supposed to be 50%, pero ang delivery progress nila ay 20% lang. That can be considered as a ground for blacklisting. So, the key dito, yung monitoring, di ba? Yung monitoring natin. So, dapat dito, yung unsatisfactory in delivery should also be only from the fault or negligence of the contractor or consultant. So dapat siya lang ang may fault or negligence. And or unsatisfactory or inferior quality of goods. Kung nagde-deliver naman siya, yung mga dinideliver naman niya, inferior quality, di ba? Parang, that is why crucial rin yung pag-alam nyo ng terms of reference. Di ba? Dapat lagi tayo yung mga pinopost natin mga specifications, mga terms of reference natin should be, kasi yung specification natin at terms of reference natin is the minimum requirement. So, kung halimbawa, yung minimum requirement, hindi naman nila nami-meet. Tapos yung mga dinideliver nila, if it's inferior quality. Kung na-meet naman nila, yung dinideliver naman, parang inferior quality naman, parang kahit ganun na-meet nila yung specifications, yung minimum specs, pero yung, kung ano ba, yung ginagamit nila, parang sobrang sirain, hindi magamit, that can be a ground for blacklisting during contract implementation stage. For the procurement of consulting services, poor performance by the consultant of his services arising from his fault or negligence. So, dito, lagi dapat ang may fault or negligence lang is either the contractor, supplier, or the consultant. So, dapat, dito specifically, si consultant. Kaya nga, kailangan mo ng consultant. Kasi nga, meron kang mga bagay na hindi alam. Di ba? Yung mga bagay ka na hindi alam. So, example dito, so for the consulting service, poor performance by the consultant would be defective design resulting in substantial corrective works in design and or construction, yung mga failure to deliver critical outputs due to the consultant's fault or negligence. Kasi meron tayong mga substantial requirements na kailangan, di ba, sa consulting services, meron mga substantial requirements na kailangan i-comply si consultant. Pero hindi niya na-comply due to his fault or negligence. Yeah. Specifying materials which are inappropriate or substandard or way above the acceptable standards. So, di ba nga, yung mga, minsan kailangan natin ng consultants, yung mga design, yung mga engineering, di ba? Kung halimbawa yung mga specify niya, i-recommend niya kay procuring entity, i-recommend ni consultant kay procuring entity are of specifying inappropriate, substandard, or way above the acceptable standards that can be considered poor performance by the consultant. So, also, allowing defective workmanship or works by the contractor being supervised by the consultant. So, di ba, one of, we can hire the services of the consultant for construction supervision. Kasi nga, minsan, merong agencies na wala silang expertise sa mga construction. So, that's why we hire consultant. So, such as consultant for construction supervision. So, we don't have time, parang merong agencies na don't have time to monitor yung to supervise the construction of infrastructure. So kung si constructor allows defective workmanship or works sa kaya siya hinire kasi para siya na mag-supervise, pero still nag-allow siya ng mga defective workmanship, yeah, that can be considered a ground for blacklisting the consultant in the contract implementation stage. Next would be for the procurement of infrastructure projects, poor performance by the contractor or unsatisfactory quality and or progress of work arising from his fault or negligence as reflected in the constructor's performance evaluation system rating sheet or the existing performance monitoring system of the. So, dito, yung poor performance by the contractor sa infrastructure na. So, negative slippage of 15%, and above with critical path of the project due to entirely to the fault or negligence of the contractor. So pag 15% or more ang slippage, negative slippage ni contractor, that can be a ground for blacklisting. Basta yung negative slippage na yun is due solely to his fault or negligence. Also, yung mga quality of materials in workmanship, hindi siya nag-comply dun sa approved specification. Diba? Siyempre, dapat dito lagi, contractor's fault or negligence. Next would be willful or deliberate abandonment or non-performance of the project or contract by the contractor resulting to a substantial breach thereof without lawful and or just cause. Kung inabandon niya, basta-basta, diba? Kung ang keywords natin dito is without lawful and or just cause. Kung inabandon niya, pero with just cause, that cannot be a ground for blacklisting. Pero kung inabandon niya or hindi niya pinerform yung project or contract without lawful or just cause, that can be a ground for blacklisting. So in case it is determined prima facie that the contractor has engaged before or during the implementation of contract in unlawful deeds and behaviors relative to the contract acquisition and implementation as enumerated in Section 3D of the Guidelines of Determination. Dito, kung na-determine, meron tayong ebidensya na that the contractor has committed corrupt, fraudulent, collusive, and coercive acts. Yan yung mga inaano ng Section 3D. We have evidence that the contractor committed corrupt, fraudulent, collusive, coercive practices in acquiring the contract, diba? And in acquiring the contract, that may be considered a ground for blacklisting during the contract implementation stage. So, ano yung mga sanctions natin? So, we forfeit the performance security. First offense, blacklisting for 1 year. Second offense, syempre, blacklisting for 2 years. Without prejudice to the imposition of additional administrative sanctions and or further criminal prosecution. You can also file a criminal act against the contractor. So some things to consider, to remember, if we terminate the contract with the supplier, contractor, or consultant, and then the determination was due to default or unlawful acts. So the Hope shall issue within 7 calendar days from termination, a blacklisting order. So pag na-terminate ang contract due to default and or unlawful acts, automatic ma-blacklist ang supplier, contractor, or consultant. However, where the contract termination is no longer possible, but the contractor committed acts or causes which may constitute grounds for blacklisting, the implementing unit shall, within 7 calendar days after the lapse of the project duration, cause the execution of a verified report with all relevant evidence attached, subject to the following conditions. As I said earlier, you notify, you show cause, then we decide. Crucial dito, ang contract monitoring. Kasi we only have 7 calendar days from the project duration. So, tapos na yung project. Merong kayong nakita, na-discover nyo, dapat lagi na crucial ang contract monitoring stage. Ang contract monitoring natin. Yung performance monitoring ng mga procurement natin, dapat monitor natin yan. So, this is the process for blacklisting during contract implementation stage. Dito, ang difference, si Hope na ang nag-i-initiate. Kasi dun sa, di ba, blacklisting during procurement or competitive bidding stage, si BAC, si observer, and any bidder may initiate the blacklisting. Pero dito sa contract implementation stage, the blacklisting proceedings shall be initiated by the HOPE upon recommendation of the implementing unit. So dapat i-recommend muna ni implementing unit kay HOPE whether to blacklist the supplier, contractor, or consultant. So, you know, siyempre, under the due process clause, we notify the contractor then with the following information. So, yung statement of acts constituting grounds for blacklisting, instruction to the contractor why it should not be blacklisted, and special instructions of the PE, if any. So, siyempre, notice of blacklisting shall be accompanied by a verified report. So, dapat i-attach mo rin yung verified report from the implementing unit. Kasama doon sa notice. Okay? Supplier, contractor, consultant. Okay, contractor. So from receipt, 7 calendar days from receipt, si contractor shall submit a verified position paper. Why it should not be blacklisted. So, dapat verified position paper ang answer niya. Diba? If the contractor fails to show cause after the lapse of 7 calendar days, either by inaction or by default, the HOPE shall issue a blacklisting order. Halimbawa, after 7 calendar days, hindi siya nag-submit na. Halimbawa, ngayon na-receive ng contractor yung notice. And after 7 calendar days, hindi siya nag-submit ng answer. May issuehan agad siya ng blacklisting order. Or kung halimbawa, nag-file siya after the 7 calendar days. Yan. May issuehan pa rin siya ng blacklisting order. Kung halimbawa naman, nakapasok siya, nakapag-submit siya ng answer ng verified report, verified position paper as his answer within 7 calendar days from receipt of the notice of blacklisting, the HOPE shall have a non-extendable 10 calendar days to decide whether or not to blacklist the contractor. So, shall serve a written notice to the contractor of its decision, which shall become final and executory after the lapse of 7 calendar days from receipt of the notice of decision. Kung kailan magiging final and executory ang decision to blacklist, ito, decision to blacklist na ni supplier. Although blacklisted na naman siya, kailan lang magiging final and executory. So if the bidder did not file an MR or motion for reconsideration on the decision to blacklist, that is not suspend, that is the decision to blacklist. The said decision becomes final and executory after the lapse of 7 calendar days counted from the receipt of the notice of decision. Receipt of the notice of decision. So halimbawa, na-receive ni contractor yung decision to blacklist ngayon. Tapos after 7, after naglapse na yung 7 calendar day period to file his motion for reconsideration, final and executory na ang blacklisting order. Halimbawa, nag-MR naman siya, pero hindi siya nag-appeal. The decision becomes set, final, and executory after the lapse of 7 calendar days counted from the resolution of the motion for reconsideration. From the receipt of the resolution of the motion for reconsideration. Diba? Kung nag-file siya ng MR, denied, nag-file siya ng appeal, and the same, and still denied yung appeal niya, final and executory yung decision to blacklist upon receipt of the agency and person or entity concerned of the decision on the protest. So, nag-file siya ng appeal, still denied. Dahil appellate authority na mag-i-issue niya. Final and executory na upon receipt of both the agency and the entity concerned of the decision of the protest. Yeah. So here, what is the status of the blacklisted person or entity? So before issuance of the blacklisting order, the erring contractor may participate in the procurement of any government project except in the agency where he is suspended. So this pertains, halimbawa, procurement stage. Kung procurement stage, ito applicable. Kung halimbawa, dahil suspended pa lang siya ito suspended pa lang siya dito. Kaya doon lang siya sa government, sa agency, prohibited. Doon lang siya sa government agency where he's suspended na prohibited siya mag-participate in the procurement, in any procurement activity. Yeah. What if the blacklisting order is issued before the notice of award? So kung blacklisted person or entity shall not be qualified for award, and such project or contract shall be awarded to another bidder pursuant to RA 984 and its IRR. Kung hindi pa siya, kung bago ma-issuean siya ng notice of award, na blacklist na siya, hindi na siya pwedeng awardan ng contract. Kung halimbawa naman, yung blacklisting order was issued after the notice of award, the project or contract shall not be prejudiced by the said order, provided that the said offenses is or not connected with the awarded project or contract. So, syempre, pwedeng i-award sa kanya basta hindi yun yung subject, yung procurement na yun ay hindi yung subject kung bakit siya na-disqualify. So we now go to application of penalties. Kung halimbawa, the remaining period of the previous blacklisting order, tapos kung halimbawa, merong remaining period tayo na 3 months of the previous blacklisting order. Tapos, during that time, 3 months na lang, na-issuean siya ulit ng bagong blacklisting order for 2 years. For another 2 years. For a new 2 years blacklisting order. So, ang isa-serve na lang niya, serve ba niya 2 years and 3 months? Hindi na. Masasubsume na niya yung remaining previous period of 3 months. Kaya 2 years na lang tayo. 2 years na lang isa-serve niya. What if yung offense niya is more than 3? More than 3 na. So, di ba, first year, 1 year. First offense, 2 years. Second offense, first offense is 1 year's blacklisting. Second offense is 2 years, blacklisting. So, pag halimbawa 3 or more na yung offenses niya, 2 years na 2 years yan. Next, we have the blacklisting order form. Yan. Ito yung order natin na download sa GPPB website. So, yung blacklisting order form. Ito yung sinasubmit natin sa pinopost natin sa online blacklisting portal. Diba? So under GPPB Circular 03-2020, the blacklisting order duly signed by the Home or Appellate Authority shall contain the following. So siyempre, the department or officer board or office order or board resolution number, complete registered business name and address and field jobs registration number of the blacklisted person or entity, license number if applicable, authorized managing officer, name of project, specific grounds committed, sanction imposed, start and end, date of issuance of blacklist. And that ends my discussion for this day for protest mechanism and remedies and blacklisting guidelines. Thank you very much.
All right, that ends our discussion proper. Again, that was Attorney Jainito Royce, Atis of the Department of Justice. Thank you so much, sir. Before we proceed to our open forum, we will be taking again a short bio break. But before that, may I please remind Mr. Ronald Villanueva and Engineer Rufy G. Abalde to get in touch with our event secretariat to confirm your mailing address. See you in a short while.
Have you ever wondered how sharing of issued blacklisting orders could be made easier for your agency? Well, with the Online Blacklisting Portal, or OBP, you are only one click away from posting and updating the status of your blacklisted entities and accessing information related to your agency's blacklisting history. Let me give you a quick walkthrough of the new OBP. To register, visit the link flashed on your screen. One registration per PE is allowed and only the official user can request for registration. After the successful registration, an alternate user can be added. Your registration will be validated upon receipt of the documents flashed on your screen. Within 3 days from the effectivity date of the BO, PEs should be able to post the BO by filling out the form in the OBP and uploading the copy of the approved BO. You can simply click on the Update Status tab from the Blacklisting Order Details screen. In case you need to change or update your account details, you may send a request to the email address flashed on your screen. For more details, you may visit the OBP homepage to access these files. Have you ever wondered how sharing of issued blacklisting orders could be made easier for your agency? Well, with the Online Blacklisting Portal, or OBP, you are only one click away from posting and updating the status of your blacklisted entities and accessing information related to your agency's blacklisting history. Let me give you a quick walkthrough of the new OBP. To register, visit the link flashed on your screen. One registration per PE is allowed and only the official user can request for registration. After the successful registration, an alternate user can be added. Your registration will be validated upon receipt of the documents flashed on your screen. Within 3 days from the effectivity date of the BO, PEs should be able to post the BO by filling out the form in the OBP and uploading the copy of the approved BO. You can simply click on the Update Status tab from the Blacklisting Order Details screen. In case you need to change or update your account details, you may send a request to the email address flashed on your screen. For more details, you may visit the OBP homepage to access these files.
Starting a new procurement activity? Do you want to quickly create your bidding documents? You need something that will provide a secure, straightforward, and customizable way to build your bid docs. Introducing the Government Procurement Policy Board Philippine Bidding Documents Builder. Accessed through the GPPB online portal, the PBD Builder enables you to build your bidding documents from scratch. The online preparation of PBDs will save you time, energy, and resources during the procurement planning stage.
It's so easy to build your bid docs. First, be sure that you are your procuring entity's principal or alternate authorized representative for posting of required procurement information in the GPPB online portal. Select the PBD in the menu bar of the GPPB online portal to access the PBD Builder. Click the Posted PBDs in the drop-down and log in into the system by entering your username and password and selecting Procuring Entity Radio button. While logged in, you would be able to access the drop-down choices under the PBD menu, specifically the preparation of PBDs for goods, the preparation of PBDs for infrastructure, and the PBD notices.
From the PBD drop-down choices, select Prepare PBD Goods or Prepare PBD Infrastructure depending on your procurement project. Encode the required information. Click the radio buttons or drop-down choices. Or upload the required documents using the Upload File button. Remember, those with red asterisks are mandatory fields and should be filled out. After all the required data in the invitation to bid are entered, click the labeled PBD section button at the bottom of the page to move to the next pages of the PBD Builder. The system has a Save button at the end of every page that allows you to save a draft version of the PBDs when some of the mandatory data are still missing. After all required data are entered on the last page of the PBD Builder, click the Submit button at the bottom of the page.
The draft PBDs may be viewed under the drop-down labeled PBD Notices. This drop-down opens to a page showing a table where data is displayed in columns as derived from the information you entered or encoded. Click the View Approve PBD to view or download the drafted public bidding documents. If the draft needs editing, just click the Edit PBD link. You can navigate to a specific section by clicking on the section name on top of the page. In approving the draft, click the View Approve PBD link for the specific project. a page will open where you can upload an image of the Bids and Awards Committee chairperson's signature, signifying its approval, and tick the box confirming the authority of the person approving the draft public bidding document. Click the Approve PBD button to finalize the documents. After clicking this, the public bidding documents can no longer be edited.
The web-page version of the finalized PBD can be seen by clicking the View PBD link under the View Approved PBD column. The View Approved PBD link disappears if the PBD has already been approved and finalized. You can generate a copy of the PBD in the portable document file version by using the View PBD link under the View PDF column. And finally, the soft copy of the approved PDF format may be saved using the web-based downloading or printing options. Once printed, it's ready for posting within the premises of your agency and uploading to the PhilJEPs and your agency's websites to comply with the posting requirements under the procurement rules.
Let the PBD Builder help you build your bid docs without breaking a sweat. The GPPD Philippine Bidding Documents Builder, procurement planning and bid docs preparation made easy.
The Philippines is going to buy green. Our government is taking the lead. The Philippines' Green Public Procurement Roadmap guides the way forward by considering local business capacities, climate, environment, health, and value for money. Our government procures thousands of items every year to serve the Filipino people. When government is the single largest buyer in a market, its procurement decisions influence the direction that businesses take. Green public procurement is about buying products which are low carbon, are healthier, avoid harmful chemicals, and are manufactured through cleaner processes. They are efficient to use and consume less energy and water. At the end of life, precious materials are recycled. GPP reduces the pressure on the environment. GPP is a partnership between the government and businesses. GPP opens up new, exciting, and reliable opportunities for businesses supplying green products. This in turn makes green products also affordable for private households. A first batch of 20 product categories has been prioritized for GPP, and more will be selected over time. The priority common supplies and equipment products are multi-copy paper, toilet paper, record books, cleaners, chairs, disinfectant sprays, trash bags, liquid hand soap, detergent powder, and LED lights and bulbs. The priority non-common supplies and equipment products are computer and laptop monitors, air conditioners, vehicles, fridges and freezers, copiers, paints and varnishes, food and catering services, training hotels and facilities, toilets and urinals, and textiles such as uniforms and work clothes. The well-established public procurement processes in the Philippines, such as the PhilJEPs, will ensure fairness, transparency, and open competition for the green venture. Everyone can become an active consumer of green products which save energy and water, are not harmful for health and climate, and which are recyclable.
To proceed with the open forum, please be reminded that questions which are gathered from the Zoom chat box and from our Facebook live comment section are filtered and categorized. as our speaker shall only be answering the questions related to our learning session. Nevertheless, rest assured that all questions raised and received are documented, which shall form part of our frequently asked questions. Once again, let us have our resource speaker, Attorney Jainito Roy Ates.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Ano pong yung mga tanong nila?
For our first question, sir, pwede bang magkaroon ang fence ang isang contractor kapag nag-issue kami final acceptance after 1 year from completion? Tapos di nila na-receive certificate of final acceptance at hindi sila nakapagbigay ng warranty security after ng final acceptance.
Karoon ng
I think, sir, this question is under the protest mechanism and remedies, which was discussed earlier.
Okay. Second chapter. After 1 year, hindi sila nakapagbigay ng warranty security thereafter, after ng final acceptance. So this is parang contract implementation na, and hindi sila nakapagbigay ng warranty security after ng final acceptance. Kung yung hindi nila pagbigay ng warranty security is without justifiable cause, that can be a ground for blacklisting. Next.
Okay, sir, moving to the next question. Is the denial of the protest due to unverified protest or non-payment of fees with prejudice?
Yes, this is with prejudice to further action. So, ang susunod na remedy na nila is to file with the, sa court na sila pwede mag-file action, certiorari under Rule 65.
Thank you so much po. For our next question, under blacklisting, kung walang mag-initiate ng action to send notice to the supplier, even the BAC, for their refusal or not receiving the NOAA without justifiable cause, what will happen to the supplier? Are they relieved from the blacklisting procedure?
Kung wala kayong action na ginawa, kung hindi mag-initiate ang BAC, kumbaga, relieve sila. Pero kung halimbawa, relieve sila from blacklisting, kung nag-initiate naman kayo ng action, hindi sila ma-relieve, di ba? So, it depends. Are they relieved from blacklisting procedure? It depends. Kasi yung blacklisting procedure requires needs to be initiated by the bank. And parang suppliers need also to be notified of the offenses they may have committed for them to be blacklisted. So they are not necessarily relieved. Basta kung if there is inaction, kung walang ginawa lang si BAC dun sa ginawa niya, pwede siyang ma-relieve. Pero kung kaya kailangan there should be an action from the BAC. So, kailangan initiate ni BAC para talaga siya ma-blacklist.
Thank you so much, po, sir. For our next question, who is the appellate authority for the Hope's decision in the municipality?
Yeah. I've been researching about this, pero ang na-stumble upon ko is EO 292, wherein the president has general supervision over local government. So, pero dito, I think kung municipality kayo, yung appellate authority nyo would be the provincial government. So, pero this is subject, I promise to get back to you. I'll research more pa on the appellate authority on the Hope's decision in the municipality. I promise I'll get back to you. Pero as of now, ang is the provincial government.
Thank you so much po, sir. I think we're down to our last question. Can we blacklist bidders under alternative methods of procurement?
Yes, you can blacklist bidders under alternative methods of procurement. Yung blacklisting procedures natin is not limited to public bidding only, but it also covers alternative methods of procurement.
Okay, sir, that ends our open forum. If you have more questions, you may still ask them out by visiting slido.com. All you have to do is just type in the event code #governmentprocurementph, to which the GPPB TSO will answer through an issuance or through FAQs. At this point, we would like to thank again our resource speaker, Attorney PJ Addis, for graciously accepting our invitation, extensively and enthusiastically attending to the concerns and questions raised by our participants for today's learning session, and to our participants who actively participated all throughout the course of our program. Thank you all very much. And for our winners, congratulations po, and please check your emails or the Zoom chat box, as our technical team shall coordinate with you on how you may claim your special tokens. Now, before we proceed to our final reminders, allow me to provide a brief recap or bird's eye view of today's learning session. Today, we had an entire session on protest mechanism and remedies, where we had a very comprehensive discussion on the different penal, civil, and administrative provisions, as well as an in-depth discourse on the liabilities under RA number 3019. We also had a very profound discussion on the protest mechanism, where we highlighted the requisites for filing a protest for or request for reconsideration and valid protest. We also had a fruitful discourse on the blacklisting guidelines, where we highlighted the uniform guidelines on blacklisting. Finally, we also had a meaty discussion on the blacklisting procedure during the procurement and contract implementation stages. Today's sessions are led by our resource speaker, Attorney Jainito Roy C. Atis. Once again, we do hope that you were all able to have a deep dive in our today's learning session on all the learning sessions throughout our 5-day learning activity. For the final important reminders, again, we would like to remind the participants to please accomplish the participants' daily attendance by visiting the Google form provided by our event secretariat. Rest assured that all the information provided or gathered for this online training shall be treated with utmost confidentiality, consistent with the provisions of the Data Privacy Act. Also, please be reminded that the certificate of participation shall only be issued to the participants upon completion of the general evaluation, module evaluation, and resource person evaluation, which are all accessible via the GPPB TSO OTMS, that is bit.ly/GPPB-TSO-OTMS, using the OTMS control number provided by our event secretariat. So next, as you can see on your screens, once you log in the GPP BTSO OTMS portal and key in the control number, the Evaluate training is on the bottom left portion of your page. Once you click Evaluate training, don't forget to click both the General Evaluation with the blue font, as well as the Resource Speaker Evaluation at the right portion with the eye to complete your evaluation requirements. Finally, may we request everyone to please switch on your cameras to commemorate this learning session with our resource speaker, Attorney Atis. Let us have our group photo. I will quickly scroll through our screen and I will take 3 shots. Are we ready? Okay, for our first shot po, ready at my count. 1, 2, and 3. For our second shot, ready? 1, 2, and 3. For our final shot, ready? 1, 2, and 3. That It concludes the online training for the municipal local government units on RA number 9184 and its 2016 revised implementing rules and regulations. On behalf of the Government Procurement Policy Board Technical Support Office, this has been your facilitator, Krista Kalat-Yongko. Thank you all very much. Mask up, stay safe, and see you in our future training activities. Ingat po tayong lahat.